Welcome back to Fundamentals of Programming. This is Lesson 10, and we will continue talking about operators today. In Lesson 9, we discussed the arithmetic operators that allowed us to manipulate data. Today's lesson focuses on conditional operators, which allows us to compare data. And just like with Lesson 9, today's lesson is going to have some review material in it, because some of the operators are used in basic mathematical calculations. Let's start with the greater than operator. It looks and behaves exactly as you would expect it to. This is the exact same operator that you use in math. This determines if the number on the left is greater than the number on the right. We know that 3 is not greater than 5, so this is actually going to return false. This is not an error. We are just comparing these two numeric values and then determining if something is true or false. But if we have 6 greater than 5, this will return true because 6 is greater than 5. We also have the less than operator, so we could do 3 is less than 5. This will return true because 3 is less than 5, but if we have 6 less than 5, that will return false. We also have the greater than or equal to operator, which is going to determine if the number on the left is greater than or equal to the number on the right. So let's do 5 greater than 5. This actually returns false because 5 is not greater than 5. 5 is actually equal to 5. So if we put in the equal sign after the greater than sign, 5 greater than or equal to 5, this will return true because 5 is equal to 5. We have the same thing in the less than or equal to. So we have less than or equal to 5. This will return true as well. Now do keep in mind, if we changed this to something like 3, then this would be false because 5 is not less than or equal to 3. The other comparison operator is the equality operator. And this is going to deviate somewhat from what you might think from math class. We can't use a single equal sign to determine if one value is equal to another value. The reason being because the equal sign is pretty much exclusive to assignment. So if we try to execute the code on line 13, we are going to get an error because we cannot assign the value of 4 to the value of 4. A 4 is not a variable, so that's not going to happen. But we can use two equal signs, and this will refer to equality. So this is going to determine if the value of 4 is equal to the value of 4. And that is obviously true, but JavaScript's equality operator is, for the lack of a better word, quirky. In fact, some would consider it to be incorrect. I am one of those that does so. The reason being because most languages' equality operators do two things. They check the type of data that's being compared. So in this case, we have two numeric values, so that's okay. And then it checks the values of those two operands. In this case, we have two numeric values, both of which are 4. So that would be true, not only in JavaScript, but in every other language. But let's change one of these to a string. Now we have the number 4 is equal to the string 4. Well, if you tried to execute this code in other languages, or at least the equivalent code in other languages, you would get false because the two data types that these values are of are not the same. We have a number and we have a string. That should automatically say, nope, these are not equal. But JavaScript tries to be smart and it converts the number 4 to a string and then compares the strings together. So that is why we get true in this case. And this is also why we have what's called an identity operator in JavaScript. And this is going a little bit deeper into just the JavaScript language, but I feel that I should mention it because it needs to be mentioned. If you are going to continue to learn JavaScript, this is something that is very important for you to know. And the identity operator is 3 equal signs. The identity compares both the types of data and the values. So this operation is going to return false because it's going to see that we have a numeric value and we have a string value. And because those are two different data types, there's no way that the values can be the same, so that returns false. So we have equality, we also have inequality, and that is an exclamation point followed by an equal sign. The exclamation point is typically used to specify not. So we have 4 is not equal to the string 4. But we are using the inequality operator, and it has the same issues as the equality operator. So in this case, this is converting the number 4 to a string and then performing the inequality operation. Well, the inequality operation is saying, or it's at least checking to see if the string 4 is not equal to the string 4. Well, that is obviously false because the string 4 is equal to the string 4. Therefore, this returns false. But just as we have an identity operator, we have the non-identity operator, which just adds another equal sign to this operator. So now we have, let's change this to a number, we have the number 4 is not identical to the string 4. This will return true because it checks the data type and it checks the values. Since the data types are not the same, then this is automatically a result of true because they are not identical. So these are the comparison operators. Most of them are for numeric values such as the greater than or less than, but the equality and identity operators you can use with any type of value. We have used strings and numbers, but if you wanted to use Booleans, you could do the same thing as well. Just any other type of data, any value can be compared for equality or identity. I've mentioned that these comparison operations return a true or false value, a Boolean value. Well, you can assign these values to variables if you want to. So let's create a variable called foo. Foo is just a variable that I and many other programmers use if we just want to have a throwaway variable. We typically don't use it within production code, but if we are doing some type of tutorial or some documentation, we might use foo. So if you see foo, that's just what it is. It's a throwaway variable. Another variable is bar, so we have foo and bar. So anyway, we have the variable of foo, and it's going to be assigned the result of the comparison of 3 greater than 5. Well, that is false. So the value of false gets assigned to the foo variable. So all this is great if we just have one comparison, but what if we want to compare more than 2 numbers? Well, in math, we could do that. First, I'm going to change this to 6 greater than 5. And then let's throw in another comparison, greater than 4. Now, as I said, in math, we could do this. This would result in true. But in programming, we cannot do this because remember that comparison operations return a Boolean value. We have 2 comparison operations going on within this expression. The first is 6 greater than 5. That is going to return the value of true, so we can replace that with true. And then we have the comparison of true greater than 4. That is false because true isn't even a number. How can it be greater than 4? So this overall condition, 6 greater than 5 greater than 4, results in false. And just to show you that that is the case, that I'm not lying to you, I'll fire up Chrome and the JavaScript console. 6 greater than 5 greater than 4. And there we go, we have false. So we need some way to compare more than 2 numbers, but do so in a way that gives us behavior that we expect. Well, in order to do that, we have another set of operators called logical operators. These logical operators operate on 2 Boolean values. So we can essentially join multiple comparisons together with these logical operators. There are 3 logical operators. The first is logical and if you refer to these logical operators in text, you uppercase every letter within the name of the operator. So we have logical and then we have logical or, and then we have logical not, and we will talk about these today. Now first, the logical and the logical or operations operate on more than one Boolean value. So in the case of 6 greater than 5 greater than 4, we actually need 2 comparisons because we need 2 resulting Boolean values. So we want to break this up into 2 actual comparisons. The first one we already have, 6 greater than 5. The second one, we will do 5 greater than 4 because that's essentially what we wanted to compare. So now we need to determine which of these operators that we want to use. Well, we're going to look at all of these. And we'll first start with the logical AND operator. The logical AND operator is 2 ampersands. It is not 1 ampersand because that is a completely different operator and you will get some very weird results if you use that. So remember that the logical AND operation uses the double ampersand. And this works a lot like the word and in the English language. So let's say that we have the question, do you like cake and pie? Well, if you like both cake and pie, then the answer to that question is yes. If you like cake but not pie, then the answer is no. If you like pie but not cake, the answer is once again no. So in order for the logical AND operation to return true, both of the operands have to return true as well. And that is the case with what we have on line 1. The first comparison, 6 greater than 5, that returns as true. And then the second comparison, 5 greater than 4, that returns true as well. So the logical AND operator, since both of these are true, is going to return true. If one of these returned false, then the logical AND operation would return false as well, because both of these have to be true in order for the logical AND to be true. Let me type the result set of a logical AND operation out, just kind of as a cheat sheet. So if we have true and true, then the result is going to be true. Actually, let's just do that. Okay, if we have true and false, then the overall condition is going to be false. If we have false and true, then the overall condition is going to be false. So with the logical AND, both of the operands have to be true in order for the overall condition to be true. Otherwise, we get false. So now let's talk about the logical OR operator. And let's replace some of these with some actual values. Let's do 7 is less than 6. And then for another comparison, let's do 8 is greater than 4. So we have one comparison that is going to be false, and then we have another comparison that is going to be true. Now the logical OR operation uses a double pipe. It is not a single pipe because that is a different operator. The double pipe is the logical OR, and it works a lot like the word or in the English language. Do you like cake or pie? Well, if you like cake, then the answer to that question is yes. If you like pie, it's yes. If you like cake and pie, it's yes. But if you don't like cake and you don't like pie, the answer is no. So let's look at these comparisons and see what the logical OR operator will give us. Well, we have 7 less than 6. That results in false. We have 8 greater than 4. That results in true. But since we are using the logical OR, one of these has to be true. It doesn't matter which one, as long as one of them is true, then the overall condition is going to be true. So we do have a true result, so that is going to be true. Now, if both of these were false, then the overall condition is false. And that's the only time that a logical OR can be false, is if both operands are false. So let's type out the result set of a logical OR operation. If we have true or true, that is going to be true. If we have true or false, that is going to be false, or true, I apologize. If we have false and true, that is going to be true. But if we have false or false, that is going to be false. And you know I didn't do the false and false for the logical AND, so let's go ahead and add that in. False and false is going to be false. So we can use the logical AND the logical OR operators to combine multiple comparisons together. So let's do something more than just 2 comparisons. Let's do 3 comparisons. And we will use the logical AND as well as the logical OR. So let's first do 5 is greater than 4, and we will do the logical AND operator. Let's also do 7 is greater than 3, and then let's use a logical OR, and let's say that 7 is less than 10. Actually, no. We want to do 7 is greater than 10. We want something that's going to be false. So let's break this down step by step. Let's first do the comparison operations, and then we will do the logical operations so that we can see that this is actually going to return true. So first we have 5 is greater than 4. That is true. We have 7 greater than 3. That is true as well. And then we have 7 is greater than 10. That is false. So that's out of the way. Let's do the logical operations. First is the logical AND. And both of the operands for the logical AND are true. So the result of this logical operation is true. Next, we have the logical OR, and we have true and false for both of these values. It doesn't matter that one is false because only one has to be true in order for the OR operation to be true. So the result is true. Let me undo all of those things so that we can run this in the browser, and you can see that that is indeed the case. Let's fire up Chrome, Control-Shift-J. I'll paste in our condition, and we can see that that is true. Okay, so the last operator that we'll talk about is the logical NOT. And the logical NOT is very simple. It's only one character, the exclamation point, and it works on only one Boolean value. There's no true and true or true or false or anything like that. It is just one Boolean value. So it would be not true or not false. And the logical NOT operator reverses whatever the value is. So we have not false, so that actually returns true. If we have not true, then that would return false. So if we had a comparison, let's do 5 is greater than 4. And notice that I am surrounding this comparison with parentheses. You can group comparisons with parentheses if you want to. I'm doing so in that case just to make it a little bit clear as to what's going on within this code, that we are having a comparison, and then we are reversing the result of that comparison using the logical NOT operator. So we have 5 is greater than 4. That results in true, but the logical NOT is going to reverse the true to false. Now this might not seem very helpful, but whenever we talk about making decisions, you can use the logical NOT operator in situations where it makes sense to do so. And we will look at one of those situations in the next lesson. So those are the conditional operators, the comparison operators that we talked about, as well as the logical operators. And we will use these in the next lesson to make decisions.